Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by TheLines.com. I'm hosting this week. Nate Weitzer here with guest appearance from Mo Nuwara. He'll be here for a few days here as we wait for Josh Lander's return from his vacation. We got best bets up for you. We got player props per usual. Like and subscribe so you will see whenever these videos come out every weekday throughout the regular season. Check out TheLines.com for the odds finder tool. Very helpful when looking for these player props to get the best juice on your money. Mo, let's go ahead and run right into your first pick here on Thursday's slate.
So to get started, not a very surprising pick, I think, to anybody who's been paying attention to NBA of late, but I did go with Mikal Bridges under 23.5 points. A bit surprised, honestly, to see the line this high. When you're talking about a guy who has a season-long number of just a hair over 21 points per game, I think the number is just overly baking in an Atlanta defense that has been atrocious. I think they're second worst in the NBA, but that obviously is not really the case right now. Trae Young out for, like you said, in the regular big markets show, possibly out for the season. The Atlanta defense, so they're 20th percentile on the season. So that's obviously really bad. Okay, you take Trae Young out, run the lineups, they're actually 42nd percentile. So they're like fine. I mean, just a bit below average, obviously still not good, but fine. And fine is a lot different than, one of the worst in the NBA. So I think this number is just overly baking in that everybody was scoring 140 on the Hawks for 4 months, right? When they had their normal lineup. And I think also maybe a little bit too much baking in like no Cam Thomas. But you have Mikal Bridges like really straining under the weight of primary creation. He just isn't up to the task, without Cam. I mean, he had 4 points in the last game. And you even look past that, since the break, he has not come close to this aside from one game where he scored 21. Beyond that, he had 15, 11, and then that 4-point game we both referenced. So I think this line is just too high, and I'm not sure why the market thinks Mikal Bridges is going to be a 25-point-a-game guy right now, because I just don't see it.
Yeah, well, it's because of the Hawks' reputation and because Cam Thomas is out. And in this exact situation, way back in November, Mikal had 45 at Atlanta in that crazy, I think, double overtime game. Otherwise, though, he's only gotten over this once in 8 without Cam Thomas. His efficiency has suffered. We talked about how the Hawks are playing much better defense in a small sample so far without Trae. So it's definitely possible they hold them down. I like the Hawks to win the game, which will definitely involve, him being the primary task here. There's just not a lot of other creation for the Nets. I mean, Dennis Schroeder now stepping in for Dinwiddie as your primary ball handler. It's not really an upgrade in terms of setting up Bridges for success. So my first pick here will be Chet Holmgren over 25.5 points and rebounds. If you want to just take the 16.5 points, I think that's good. I think he's just going to be aggressive here, going right at Wemby, because, this matchup could go a long way towards Rookie of the Year, which I think both guys care about. And because, Chet just a guy who likes to go at people and not back down and block shots if people are going at him. We saw this the first time they met, and he did creep over it with 17-9. That was on a back-to-back, though. And Chet plays far less on back-to-backs. He gets lower usage. Basically, if he's not on a back-to-back or facing Orlando, he's gone over this total in like 8 to 10 straight. He's been very productive. The 4 out of the All-Star break with a little extra rest, 22 and 10 a game on 62-48% splits. Usage rate creeping up, 24%. That's about where he was at when he played Wemby. He's shooting 50% on catch and shoots inside and outside the arc. So OKC, Wemby's a good defender, but like OKC should be able to move that thing and get the Spurs bad defenders in rotation, and Chet will be knocking things down. And the rebounding has also gone up in these last 15 and a half rebound chances. OKC stood pat at the deadline. They said, Chet's our guy. He's going to anchor the defensive glass, and he has stepped up. 40% of those rebounds have been contested. So he is doing the job. Spurs are not a great offensive team. There should be rebounding opportunities, and I just think he'll be gunning for this one based on the matchup.
I mean, he for sure will. He's definitely will be. I'm not sure. I didn't dive too deep into any of the numbers in this game, really. But I guess my primary concern in this would be a possible blowout here. Obviously, you do have OKC as double-digit favorites on the road here. Spurs have really been struggling. I felt pretty fortunate to get them to the window the other day. I think they were plus 12.5 against Minnesota, and they were down 20 a lot of that game and cleaned it up in the fourth for a late cover. That would probably be my main concern here. I wouldn't be too worried about the matchup with Wemby. He's obviously great, but man, Chet is amazing at keeping his fouls low, so that's really important here. He's only averaging 2.6 fouls per game, so that's really nice when you are looking at a matchup where he's going to be stretched on defense for sure. So, just very excited for this matchup as a fan, and hoping for a big Wemby performance to lock up Rookie of the Year, because laid some decent juice there in the preseason.
Yeah, Thunder are off till Sunday after this, so take that with whatever, account for that however you want. I don't know how that necessarily affect things, but it should allow Chet to play plenty of minutes. It's not like they have a big game on the second leg or anything here. So what is your second pick here for Thursday's slate?
So this is kind of a weird one, just in the sense of the juice is very high. You're going to have to swallow some chalk if you want to fire this one. I don't know, not one that I usually I'm not usually looking to pay this sort of juice on these props, but Jimmy Butler over 4.5 assists is minus 127. It is as high as like minus 145, depending on where you're looking. I think that's right, though. I mean, I honestly think the number should just be higher. I just looking at the way the Miami Heat are playing on offense and the injuries they have right now, with Hero most likely out, and I think replacing Kyle Lowry, who's definitely looking to be more of a facilitator / standstill shooter these days, with Terry Rozier, who is a better player at this point, but wouldn't be someone I would call like a big time creator. Below the 50th percentile assist rate for a point guard, which he's definitely more of a combo guard at times, but right now with the Heat being classified as a point guard, I think rightfully so. And Jimmy Butler he can do whatever because he's Jimmy Butler. Like, he's just the most, one of those stars who can just be in whatever role you need him to, and one thing that he has been doing is picking up the slack on the playmaking. Past 4 games, 9, 6, 11, and 8 assists. So flying past this number. I think maybe one of the things that's keeping this number down is the pace. You have 2 of the bottom 4 in pace in this game. But I actually think that could help Jimmy get some assists here, because if there's not as much transition, you're looking at more of a half-court game on both ends. So in the half-court game is where I really expect him to be operating as kind of the de facto point guard on a lot of possessions. So even a guy like Kevin Love being out, like, he's a good ball mover. He, that just means more need for Jimmy to create offense for other players, basically. So I know that the Nuggets can be very good on defense at times, specifically when they have a lot of their better defenders out, like Aaron Gordon, like even like a Peyton Watson, kind of these bigger, more athletic players. But it'll be interesting to see how they try to go after Jimmy. I mean, I think usually trying to keep Aaron Gordon one-on-one and just trusting him, which maybe does hurt this if that ends up being the case. But I just think there's so much need for him to create on offense with these injuries and such right now, and you're seeing that in the numbers, and the market still sitting basically near his season-long assist number here. So I think still some room to bet this over.
Maybe Aaron Gordon helps because at least Jimmy's not just going to be able to bully somebody and get points. Like he's going to have to kick it out a lot. The Nuggets are probably going to live with Caleb Barton hoisting threes, and it's just a question of whether he's going to make them or not. Whether Jimmy gets those assists, he does average 8.2 assists in his last 5 regular season against the Nuggets, so that theory seems to check out. Yeah, flying over this number lately. Last pick for me, Trey Mann and the Charlotte Hornets. They are now home against the Bucks after getting waxed in Milwaukee. But Trey still had 16 points in that one, and I'll say over 12.5 for him in the rematch. Milwaukee's defense is obviously far worse on the road. A little bit better under Doc defensively overall, but still in these 8 under Doc, allowing 113, bottom 10 rebounding team. If you want to tack on the points, the PRA would be 20.5. I was waffling back and forth between adding those because Trey is averaging, 10.2 rebounds, assists so far with Charlotte, including 7 and 7 at home. He's also averaging nearly 14 points in these 3 home with him. And really, it's just about the matchup. I mean, Bucks give up the 4th most points to point guards this season because teams just go right at Dame Lillard. There's just no defense at the point of attack. Even in the blowout, Trey had 16 on a 23% usage rate. He was just going right back and attacking Dame, and expect to see more of the same here. Bucks are missing a couple guys. They're missing Middleton, pretty good defender on the wing, and that might put some other guys into the lineup like Campaign a little bit easier to work against for sure on the perimeter. But really, it's just the Hornets now back home, probably going to score more than 85. They were playing pretty well before that blowout, and I think Trey Mann's a big part of their future, so they'll be fine letting him attack Dame all night.
I mean, you look at this last box score, I think this is really encouraging for you. Like, this probably means it's blowout proof. I mean, if they're down 45, literally, I think they were down something like that, and he still gets 33 minutes. Obviously, that's as encouraging as it gets from a minutes and at least a chance at production standpoint. And like you said, a premium matchup against Dame who can't guard the door. So I like this look. I'm a little bit sad that I wasn't able to scoop Trey Mann off the wire fast enough in my fantasy league. I really wanted to once I saw what kind of numbers and production he was getting, but someone was quicker than me. So maybe I'll just fire this and try to make myself feel better.
Yeah, there's few guys worth spending the fab for in fantasy basketball, but after the trade deadline, it was like, okay, I gotta fire here to get this guy. He's going to be averaging like 13, 7, and 7 the rest of the way. And that's what it appears to be. That is all the time we have for you today. Like and subscribe. We will be back tomorrow, next week, and throughout the rest of the regular season with player props and best bets. So until we see you next, happy betting.